not aware of how easily they can be spotted from the air. They don't know the tactics of the Ukrainians, where they actually use these drones, which can be controlled very accurately, to kind of corral infantry together and then take out large numbers in one or two strikes. So they haven't adjusted to that. And one paratrooper captain told me that when his reconnaissance drones were in the air, he spotted what looked like a field camp of North Korean troops with tents and lots of Koreans clustered around together, just hidden underneath a tree line, but he could easily make out their thermal signatures. And clearly they hadn't adjusted to the fact that they could so easily be spotted from the air.
In the Sumy region of Ukraine bordering Russia, the Times has spoken to paratroopers from 3 elite airborne brigades who'd fought North Korean troops across the border in Kursk. They've told of how President Putin has used these men with little or no Russian support in a desperate effort to drive out the Ukrainians. This for now appears to have failed, leaving many North Korean soldiers dead on the battlefield. Maxim Tucker has been to Sumy for the Times, and we can speak to him now. Maxim, a very good morning to you. Just tell us about some of the accounts that you heard, North Korean troops seemingly fighting alone.
Morning. Yes, so the paratroopers I spoke to were very relieved that the Russians hadn't given them armoured fighting vehicle support, tank support, artillery support or drone support. It was just North Korean infantry advancing in large numbers across the fields, vulnerable to drone attacks and artillery. And as a result, Ukraine had been able to wipe out large numbers of them. They said that if the Russians had supported them, they would have been a very effective fighting force because they're well trained, very highly motivated. They shot very accurately and they moved very fast.
There are thought to be about 10,000 North Korean soldiers that were sent by Pyongyang to Russia last year. The latest estimates I've just been reading about show that around half have been killed or wounded.
Right, so Ukraine's troops in the field estimate that they've killed or wounded 5,000 of these North Koreans, precisely because the Russians have just allowed them to go forward without this kind of support. And also because the North Koreans are kind of fighting yesterday's war. They're still fighting according to kind of Second World War, Korean War tactics. They're not aware of how easily they can be spotted from the air. They don't know the tactics of the Ukrainians, where they actually use these drones, which can be controlled very accurately, to kind of corral infantry together and then take out large numbers in one or two strikes. So they haven't adjusted to that. And one paratrooper captain told me that when his reconnaissance drones were in the air, he spotted what looked like a field camp of North Korean troops with tents and lots of Koreans clustered around together, just hidden underneath a tree line, but he could easily make out their thermal signatures. And clearly they hadn't adjusted to the fact that they could so easily be spotted from the air.
Some of these North Korean soldiers would rather die than be taken prisoner. Why is that?
Well, they've obviously got clear instructions to do that. The paratroopers told me that they had tried to capture several of these North Koreans and were not able to because they were setting off grenades inside their protective body armor. I presume that, they're very highly ideologically motivated, and probably they know that there will be repercussions for their family if they're captured. The one North Korean soldier that the paratroopers I spoke to had captured, they captured him because at the end of a very intense firefight, they discovered him concussed, lying against a tree with a serious face wound. And they managed to bring him into custody. But when he came to and realized that he was being captured, he immediately tried to end his own life by striking his head against a concrete pillar.
Yeah, so there'll be penalties for their family back in North Korea if they are taken prisoner rather than die, such as the pressure on them. I mean, are we likely to get more North Korean soldiers? Has there been any directive about the strength of this relationship between Putin and North Korea, and actually whether there will be more supplied, bearing in mind the fate of many of them so far?
Well, yes, Putin and Kim Jong-un signed a kind of defense and security pact last year, which allows a very deep collaboration between the two countries. It is astonishing to see North Korean troops fighting on Russian soil and doing the Russians' dirty work for them, trying to drive the Ukrainians out of Kursk region. And President Zelensky said last night, in fact, that North Korean troops were returning to the battlefield after a hiatus of about 2 weeks.
Well, look, Maxim, it's been great to speak to you. Thank you. Maxim's excellent reporting is up live at thetimes.com, features in the paper as well today. That is Maxim Tucker, who's been to Sumy for the Times. And we yet to see really the full effect of Donald Trump and his insistence where he's putting extra sanctions on Russia. We know that, but what are the ramifications of this Donald Trump presidency on Ukraine directly? We're yet to see that take hold.
These deposits are priceless. It is huge amounts of money. Huge. That is why we need to protect it. So if we are talking about a deal, that's what the Americans want, then let's do a deal. We are only for it. Let's do the deal.
Ось ви бачите. І І це те, про що я говорив.
This is what I told President Trump when we were together. I told him, this is the victory plan. Why victory? Victory for all. We will protect those trillions. We will prevent Russia from mining the minerals which will later be used to produce technologies for the three countries of the axis of evil. The Americans helped the most, and therefore the Americans should earn the most. And in rebuilding Ukraine, they should have this priority, and they will. I would also like to talk about this with President Trump.